Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Welcome to our show that's for you and about you, those who work so hard for your money. And you want your money to start working harder for you right now. You want that freedom, cash flow, and prosperity today, not 30 or 40 million years from now, but right now, so you can live that life that you love, doing what you love with those you love. But most importantly, it's not just about being rich, it's about creating a rich life, because as you're blessed financially, you can enrich the life of others. You can create that ripple effect. And guys, thank you so much for allowing me to create that ripple effect through you. Thank you for binging, sharing, tuning in, and doing all the great things you guys do, especially when you take this knowledge and apply it and change your life. So thank you for doing that. As always, as a reminder, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Money Ripples with Chris Miles page. There's lots of great bonus videos and video shorts and things like that that can really just enhance the education experience you have. So go check that out now.
Chris Miles was able to retire twice by the time he was 39 years old. But he's not content to just enjoy his own financial freedom and peace of mind. Chris wants you to have your own ripple effect so you can live free today. He's not the financial advisor you expected. He's the anti-financial advisor you deserve. He's jumping behind the mic right now, ready to make waves. Here's Chris Miles.
Okay, guys, so I'm bringing on a fun friend here for you guys. Like, this guy's actually in mastermind groups I'm in with, like Family Mastermind, and I think even CG too, right? I can't remember if you're in.
Not CG. I got to jump on that one though. I'm dropping the ball.
Yeah, maybe in the future. Maybe by the time this airs, you'll be in CG. I don't know, but in any case, so I've got Rafael Cortez here, right? So Rafael, the one thing that's awesome is that this guy at the age of 19 was a firefighter for Yuma County, one of the youngest guys there, and also decided to start his entrepreneur journey. And so he got his entrepreneur going. He had his first business at 21, launched his first company at 23, and now has profitably invested in wholesale real estate. He's also been, a podcaster with Wholesaling Inc. and does a lot with real estate investing and coaching and things of that nature. So, Rafael, welcome to our show, man.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris, man. It's a blast. Thanks. It's an honor.
Absolutely, man. So tell us more about your story. Like, man, like it seems like you just don't do anything slow.
Well, I feel like I do. Sometimes I have that, that internal battle, right? I feel like I'm moving too slow, but then I start getting faster, and then oftentimes, things just get out of hand. But no, I'm just curious. I mean, I've been curious about life, since the get-go. I think it's one of the things that's led me to having different paths in career. The curious thing is that eventually, like, they all consolidated into the single space where I'm at. But yeah, I started as a firefighter when I was 19. I launched my first business. It was in transportation, so I built a transportation company. At 23, got my first government contract, so that was a good thing, and that kind of spiked the activity level and results and whatnot. So I had that. I sold that in 2014, but in 2009 I started investing in real estate. I did my first fix and flip project 2009. I started wholesaling around 2012, and I just haven't looked back, man. Real estate is the way. I didn't choose the thug life. The thug life chose me. I like to think about it that way.
Yeah, that was good timing too. What a perfect time to come to the market when everybody's running away from it, right?
Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing. I think that helped because again, like I was in a totally different business, right? So I didn't even own my own home during that time. So, I mean, I was renting and I was focused on transportation. So the one thing that I was concerned about was gas prices. I built a fleet of wheelchair and stretcher patient transports. And I started with one vehicle, just bought the one thing at the one van at the auction and started working that with myself. And I was the janitor, the driver, the dispatcher, everything. And then eventually started hiring people. But when I sold it, I had a fleet of 28 vehicles, 46 employees,
Wow.
between the all the efforts and everything. So it moved, but at the beginning of it, I didn't know what was going on with the real estate, in the real estate space, because I didn't get directly hit with losing a property. I mean, I knew what was happening, of course, but I didn't, it didn't hit me at a personal level. And then I jumped in it in 2009. So it's like, man, I dodged that bullet. So I got into it, did a couple of flips. I broke even on the first few ones, and then I started getting better at them.
Mhm.
And then I realized that, I was buying properties from people who wholesale deals. And I was looking at their assignment fees being bigger than my fix and flip profits.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's going on here? And I looked into that, and it just, long story short, I'm still doing it after, all these years, all this time.
Well, and you're in a state too that had boomed during the last recession, right? And then
Yeah.
just crashed as
Yep.
well. I mean, so you saw, I mean, obviously it's hot and booming right now. I mean, it's one of the
Yeah.
hottest places in the country, but I mean, you were seriously in a place that would have caused a lot of fear for most people.
Yeah. In 2006, I started doing loans. So I was doing
Mm.
loans there for a little bit. And that was kind of like my first exposure to real estate.
Uh-huh.
I was still transitioning, from the fire department efforts to, a couple of different things, because I knew I wanted to do something else. And I basically what I wanted was time to build the company. So I was
Mm.
building the company, and I was doing, just other stuff. And one of the things I did was mortgages, and that's when I kind of started seeing the things. So I saw the price points, and then a couple of years later, it's I mean, everything just bottomed out. And yeah, it got hit. I mean, right now there's properties. For example, there's an area in Maryville, the West Valley of Phoenix. I'm in Phoenix, and property. I mean, you have $400,000 price points on properties that at that time were selling for 15,000.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And times happen, right? It's been a decade
Mhm.
plus, but it's just interesting to see the trajectory of things.
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Well, what are you passionate about now?
Coaching. It's one of the with things. It's one of the things that really just um, inspires me, wakes me up in the morning, and pushes me to do things. I
Mhm.
own. I mean, at this point, I have four businesses. I own a real estate brokerage. I have my wholesale fix and flip business, which is Post
Mhm.
Capital. I own the education portion where I coach real estate wholesale, and then I consult for businesses as an organizational psychologist. So I do all of that stuff. Out of those things, the one that really catches me is having the ability to empower people and
Mhm.
really impact, the mindset from that hustler mentality to the entrepreneur mindset, and creating that shift. I feel like motivation goes a long way, right? Inspiration goes a long way, but there's nothing like empowerment. When you actually empower somebody to believe in themselves, take their own actions, and give them a path that they can follow, and then craft and shape and turn into their own path
Mhm.
eventually. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. So
Yeah.
it's really, I mean, I think it's one of the best, gifts that we can give if you're a giver.
Yeah. Well, and you have that, yeah, like we were talking about before the air, like we had kind of similar backgrounds. I was going the same direction, but I dropped out of college and you just kept going, right?
Mhm.
With everything else you were doing, which just blows my mind. But you actually went more that organizational psychology route, going along with this. And I mean, how much do you see that applying with the business you're doing versus most people are just getting out there hustling, just trying to make a lot of money in the real estate game? What have you noticed have been kind of like the mistakes people are making and what they could be doing differently?
Well, I mean, just to kind of clarify one thing, right? I do, even though I have multiple degrees, I have two master's degrees in psychology and the bachelor's in business, and I
Mhm.
don't I don't think it's some absolute need to have the degrees on the wall.
Yeah.
You can totally do things without them. I mean, we're at a point where skill set and interaction actually has a lot more weight than the titles that are given by
Mm.
universities and whatnot. So with that being said, it taught me how to finish things.
Yeah.
So going into it, I wasn't your straight A student. I mean, I wasn't. I learned to finish things, right, and get committed
Mhm.
to the process of. And I did learn a lot of things through schooling and formal education. One thing that I thought was really cool was that I would learn something, for example, in the organizational psychology class, and I would apply it the next day in my business as I was
Mhm.
going through the process. Like, oh, this works for culture building. This works for leaning out the systems. Oh, this works for creating more space in the revenue, or improving the overhead, or whatever.
Yeah.
But you would learn something and then apply it right away. Like, I think that's substantial, right?
Yeah.
And you can take that and to the bank, actually. So I use the degrees, um, and now for my business and the coaching and everything I do. I mean, I've learned a lot through them. One of the mistakes that I see, though, and I think this did have a lot to do with it. I mean, the schooling, then just seeing things from that perspective,
Mhm.
was that when we start a business, and we, especially if you're bootstrapping, right? You're
Mm.
trying to figure things out, and then you're just, funding on your own, putting the elbow grease into it, or limited funds, that type of deal, which is where most people start, a great percentage. I mean, I know that's how I got started. The hustle mentality is going to make it work, right? The
Mhm.
hustle. We have that chip on the shoulder, and we're hustling until this damn thing works.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm going to push through it. I'm going to break walls with my forehead if I have to. And it happens, right? So you get to a point of, relative success, and you have results coming in and whatnot. One thing that happens, you're asking about mistakes that I've seen is, people stay in a prolonged state of hustle, right?
Mhm.
And one thing to understand is that hustle is a season. It's not a business strategy.
Yes.
There's got to be that shift. There has to be that catalyst that takes you from the hustle mentality to the entrepreneur mentality, and taking your side business or your hustle into business form, right? And running a
Mhm.
business by the numbers, setting up your systems, your processes, hiring the proper way, knowing where to plug people and how to hire, in that sense, right? Based on the strengths that are needed for the particular jobs.
Yeah.
So organizational psychology, I mean, that's all it does. It
Mhm.
really matches the puzzle pieces together. So that's what it taught me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you're kind of working on a book here as well, talking about, some of one of the things I love, which is, profit, right? Focusing on
Oh yeah.
profit and make sure you're actually building a business, like you're saying, because you just can't keep just hustling to make money. Like there's got to be a point where you start to become smarter and doing it right.
Right. I mean, I think if we kind of break it down into simple terms, it's life by design, right? I'm gonna,
Hmm.
take Tim Ferriss's, model here. It's a life by design, and
Hmm.
I have an avid addiction to protect my time even more than I protect the money, right? So to me, it's
Yeah.
important to have the ability and the freedom of choice of what of my options. I want to own my options. If you have if you have no system in place and
Hmm.
you're doing everything through hustle, you're always micromanaging. You're always, if you step away for 15 days, you have to come back and rebuild the company. It's usually what happens, right? We see it often, especially in real estate investments. You have, the investor who's doing fix and flips, or the guy who's doing wholesales and whatnot. And they step away from marketing, they step away from, lead generation, they step away from actually running the job site or stuff like that. And then just, shit hits a fan.
Yeah.
And
They create their own rat race, really.
Exactly. So now you're caught in it, right?
Hmm.
But there's better ways of doing things, and
Hmm.
documentation of systems is one of them and whatnot. But I use my philosophy is I call it the less business, more profits philosophy, and less as in lean, effective, strategic, and simple. It's an acronym, right? It's so less.
Mm.
If I can turn a business into a less business, I know I can delegate it and I can step away from it. I can automate stuff, and I can, elevate to that space where I want to get to, right? But if I can turn a business into a lean, effective, strategic, and simple business where you have accountability, people know what they're doing, you don't have excess overhead, you're not, there's no double entry points or redundancies in the business and that type of stuff. You can create this pretty solid, cool little machine that's pumping out results, right? Whatever those
Yeah.
results look like. If it's leads, if it's money, if whatever you're looking for, but you can create these things. So it's a question that I ask myself, right? When I'm doing something, when I'm putting together a process, a new system, where we're tackling a new challenge in any of the business. For example, we just opened nationally on
Hmm.
the wholesale business, so that's challenge in itself. We
Yeah.
were used to, the Phoenix market first, then we
Hmm.
went county, and then we went statewide, and now we just went national. So there's different things. The question is still the same. I go back to, okay, how can I turn this into a less business? How can I make this more, lean, more effective, more strategic, and more simple? And I just keep kind of, checking my actions as I go, and coming back to that space. So the book that's coming out, it's going to be all about that kind of stuff, how to build a system with that kind of process in mind.
That's where less is more, isn't it?
Right. Less is
Yeah,
more. Exactly.
absolutely. No, that's awesome, man. So, what kind of people do you work with now?
I have students. I mean, I have students who've never done deals. I have students who run, 20 and 30 deals a month. So
Hmm.
it's a broad array. At the end of the day, like the infrastructure is similar, right? You
Mhm.
have different levels of performance and whatnot, but the
Yeah.
bones, are still the bones. You still got to
Mhm.
have that foundation of how to run a business, and you can run the same infrastructure with one person, as having 10, 12 employees, 15 employees.
Yeah.
It's different roles and responsibilities. So one of the things, and actually it's interesting you say that, or you asked that, because I had one of my students ask me, so what's the difference, like how do I, why am I having this issue?
Mhm.
And the problem comes when you have multiple people wearing the same hat. So you can have multiple people wearing different hats, right? So
Mhm.
if you're a solopreneur, you're going to wear different hats throughout the business. That's fine. That's understandable.
Yeah.
But when you have multiple people wearing the same hat, meaning having the same oversight over, any particular responsibility,
Mhm.
there's no accountability. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It's gonna lapse, right? Because there's finger
Right.
pointing, there's things that happen. So it's stuff like that. When you take it into context and you learn how to think that way, you can craft your own processes going forward. And again, my thing is, it's really creating that mind shift. I give everybody a blueprint, right?
Mhm.
On, okay, this is step one, step two, step three. This is how we're going to build a business. That's the pragmatic side of things.
Mhm.
And that's there. But I think the biggest shift really comes on that mindset.
Oh,
When
absolutely.
you learn how to think, or see things from an entrepreneur standpoint, as opposed from that to that hustler
Solopreneur,
mentality.
hustler.
Yeah, hustler
Yeah.
mentality. It's completely different. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I noticed when you said 20 to 30, I'm like, oh, that's at the time that they really got to become a business owner.
Oh
You
yeah, I
know?
mean at that point you have multiple acquisition reps, multiple dispo reps. I mean you're talking PPC and marketing budgets that are $20,000-$30,000 on a regular basis. It's if not more. So
Yeah.
yeah, and running lean, it's a challenge.
Mm,
At that level. Yeah.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
I like the fact that you can throttle your business. So once you have,
Mhm.
this is the thing, you can turn it into not, I mean, it's not an exact science, right? It's real estate
Yeah.
investments. So market volatility is going to impact. I mean, there's going to be
Mhm.
a lot of stuff, but you have an infrastructure in place that can give you, for example, KPI, key performance indicators, and that sort of thing that you're tracking. So you create this level of predictability within the business.
Mhm.
Now you can gauge it. I mean, if you want to be a company that stays around, the 10, 15 deals a month, that's doable, right? And you know
Yeah.
what you have to do at the beginning of it to be in that space. You know what everybody is accountable to. You know how to hire for those roles. If somebody leaves, for example, you have that one role to fill, not a whole section of the business that needs to get rebuilt.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's important to have. So
I agree. Oh, man, this is awesome stuff, man. So if people want to be able to learn more about what you're teaching and what you have to offer, what would be the best way for them to follow you?
I'm very active on social media, so you can find me anywhere at Rafael Cortez CEO. The regular Rafael Cortez was taken by a dude in Brazil, so I had to do
Dang
something
it.
with it. I added the CEO. Yeah, yeah. Eventually, I'll buy it. I'll buy it from the guy. He's a Brazilian celebrity. Like he does.
Oh,
Yeah, so I don't know. This is gonna be a little tough, but anyway. So Rafael Cortez, CEO, everywhere. The Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all the platforms. On my YouTube channel, I drop a lot of content there,
mhm.
on real estate investments, mindset, organizational psychology principles, and entrepreneurship. So that's there. And anybody who's doing real estate investments, I have a link that I can give your audience for free download on a PDF and a blueprint of the business. So I can give you that after the show if you want to put it on the
That's
notes.
great. Yeah, I'd love to have that. And we'll put that in the show notes so people can get that, not download it while they're driving, but at least get it, while they're
Yeah.
while they're
Pull
at least
over.
sitting
Yeah.
somewhere safe.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Rafael, I really appreciate your time today, man. Like really good stuff. And obviously it doesn't take long to tell that, you get it. Like you really understand this and you can literally save people's lives. Not just from I'm not talking about like it's like people are dying, but really business wise and in their minds and their hearts, they're dying because they're overworked. Like they don't know how
Yeah.
to get out of that rat race, and helping them get out of that is just so essential.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you on that journey because that's one of my passions too. So, really appreciate your time today.
You got it, man. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. And everybody, same thing, it's always the same is that we can listen to this stuff and learn it, but it's got to be applied. But it's not just about being, just working harder. It's not even just about working smarter. It's about working right, doing it the right things, doing it the right way, and then you get the right, most optimal results. So guys, go and make it a wonderful, prosperous week. We'll see you later.
Visit us online at moneyripples.com for more resources to help you fix money leaks and get your money working harder for you now.